the difference between an event and the actual and the theoretical model. That's the first thing we notice. Number two, if we look at that article in Wikipedia, we also understand that the Big Bang model, there is a history to it. It just came into existence at a certain time, and the person who coined this very famous term, Fred Hoyle, he was a physicist, he was a British physicist, who did not actually believe in the Big Bang. He was giving a talk on physics on BBC. It was radio at that time. And he just came up with this word saying, oh, maybe all of this started with the Big Bang. All the particles and everything just gathered, it was a Big Bang. So he didn't really, he was very famous physicist who was opposed to the beginning of the universe at a given time through a Big Bang. His idea was that there is a continuity of matter. Matter always existed, which goes back to what we said the other day to Aristotle himself. He believed that matter always existed. Now, these are fundamental creedal issues for us to know, because the concept of creation at a given time, or creation or no creation at all, matter having existed forever, means there were two eternals, Na'uzubillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the matter itself. So these issues need to be understood from that perspective, and we'll go into that. The next thing is that how do we know how to find it in the Qur'an, whatever this thing is that is called the Big Bang in the Qur'an, how to find it. We have a tradition of scholarship on the Qur'an going back to the time of the companions, to the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and following onwards. And we have a scholar whose name is Abu Amr al-Dani. He died in 444. These numbers are very easy to remember, like Imam Ghazali is 505, is 444. And he has left behind a book called Al-Bayan fi Ad Ay al-Qur'an, narration about the number of words, number of ayahs in the Qur'an, and in that, like all other scholars of his time, he brings in traditions from previous scholars who actually counted every single letter of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala way back during the time of the companions. After the revelation was finished, they did that. Now we have computer models as well. We have Excel sheets. We can find these things there. And his number of ayahs and number of words. His number of words is 77,430 words in 6,216 verses. You don't have to write or memorize these things. I will inshallah post these class notes. The thing to point out is that these computer models that now exist, they give us excellent tools for finding out the frequency of these words. Meaning, if a given root has a very high frequency, lots of words come out of it. If we attend to those words before the rare words, the words that are connected with the Big Bang, for example, they only occur once in the Qur'an. Then we have an easier way of understanding the vocabulary of the Qur'an if we focus on those words. So I will inshallah post these on the class notes. There are two places in the Qur'an mentioned in reference to the Big Bang. Surah Al-Anbiya, ayah number 30, and Surah Al-Fussilat, ayah number 11. Let's look at them one by one. Avalam yara alladhina kafaru anna as-samawati wal arda kanata razqan fafataknahuma wa ja'alna min al-ma'i kulli shay'in hayy afala yu'minun. Those who disbelieve, Avalam yara alladhina kafaru anna as-samawati wal arda, that the samawat and the earth were ratqan, kanata ratqan, fafataknahuma wa ja'alna min al-ma'i kulli shay'in hayy afala yu'minun. This is the first place. Those who disbelieve, don't they see that the samawat and the earth were ratqan, fafatakna, and then we fatakna. So if we could understand these two words, ratqan and fatakan. And the second ayah is in Surah Al-Fussilat, which says, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَىٰ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ فَقَالَ لَهَا وَالْأَرْضِ ائْتِنَا طَوْعًا وَكَرْهًا قَالَتَا أَتَيْنَا طَائِعِينَ. That the ثُمَّ اسْتَوَىٰ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, this is referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who established on the sama. ثُمَّ اسْتَوَىٰ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ, and it was duhan. In most translations you would see that this was smoke. Connection between the Big Bang and these two ayahs are easy done. Smoke, Big Bang has this initial condition of explosion, expansion, and the condition of ratqan and fatakan. How do we know what ratqan means and fatakan mean? Where would we go? We will first of all go to the lexicons. We'll go to the dictionaries dealing with the Arabic of the Qur'an. So when we go there, what do we find is that ratqan, I said this last time as well, is ad-dam wal iltiham. This is the fusion. As we did this last week, I'm just going to go through it quickly. When two things are fused together, that's called ratqan. And fatakan is the opposite of it, which is the breaking of that joint and separating them. And this is also explained as a spear which has two prongs. When you make a spear with two prongs like this, that means that one piece of metal now has been separated into two things. This is the separation. The next thing is to see what our scholars have said about it. And you'll find that in many tafasirs, right down to our own time, even Al-Shankiti, who died in October 2019, they quote this couplet from Abdurrahman bin Hassan bin Thabit al-Ansari. Hassan bin Thabit radiallahu anhu, you recall his name, he is the poet of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abdurrahman is the son. So he was born in 8 Hijrah, which means when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died, he was just a baby. But he also became a poet. And the verse that he left behind, Yahawna alayhim إذا يغضبون سُخِطَ الْإِدَاعَ وَإِرْغَامُهَا. And the one that is of interest to us is بَرَتَقُ الْفَتُوكَ فَتُوكُ الرَّتُوكَ وَنَقْدَ الْأَمُورَ إِبْرَامَهَا. This is saying that Baratakal Fatuku, the Fatuk, things which were separated, were joined together. And the matters which had become dispersed and broken up were repaired. Two words, ratak and fatak. One is the splitting and the second is the joining. The first one is the joining, ratak and fatak. This is our understanding. Now, what do our scholars say about this verse? What is the content? And Al-Shinkiti, he summed up recently in his book, as I said, he died in 2019. But all of these, beauty of his tafsir is that he is taking everything from the classical sources. He is not coming up with anything. So the first meaning, this goes back to Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu, is that ratak and fatak here means that the samawat and the earth were fused together and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put air in between them to separate them. Air between them. The second meaning is that these two are taken as separate entities, a samawat and the earth. Meaning the 7 samawat were fused together like one unit. Likewise, the 7 earths were fused together like one earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala separated the 7 fused samawat into 7 layered samawat. So the separation is not from the samawat and the earth together, but samawat themselves and the earth themselves. This is the second. The third meaning is that fatak here means that they did not produce rain. The samawat, the sky didn't produce rain, and the earth didn't produce vegetation. Therefore, the fatak here is actually the beginning of the coming of water from the samawat. And they say this is so because that if you look at the end of the ayah, what does the end of the ayah say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything from water. Everything from water. That is why the connection here is to the immediate context of coming into existence of water from the samawat. These are the 3 classical meanings that you will find in most of us here. Does it have anything to do with the Big Bang then? This understanding has nothing to do with the Big Bang. This is not coming into existence of this whole cosmos as the Big Bang tells us. Rather, this is limited to one tiny bit of creation called the samawat and the earth. And we know that there are 7 samawats and there are 7 earths. Likewise, the Dukhan, in the other instance where we are told that Big Bang is possible, Dukhan there is in most of us is referred to the steam that started to come from the water, because this Sumastawa al-Arsh. Remember the Arsh, the ayah that tells us about the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it says Kan Arshu al-Ma, the Arsh was on water. Water, when it started to heat up, it became steam, and that steam is the Dukhan. It's not the smoke. The translations which tell us that this refers to smoke, Big Bang has this idea of smoke, therefore this is possible that this is where the Big Bang can be found, can be misunderstood because this is not smoke as smoke in fire, but in steam. So these are the 2 places. Now, one question. Okay, did we find the Big Bang in the Quran? Some would say yes, some would say no, some would say maybe. We did and we did not. Then someone can say, well, okay, I don't care whether it's in the Quran or not. Tell us what is wrong in accepting Big Bang, whether it is in the Quran or not. Is there an issue in taking this model in modern physics to be a working model? What is the problem with it? After all, are we not told that the mysteries of the Quran would never end? That this is a book, scholars would never tire of it? Are we not told to take the knowledge from wherever it is, even if we have to go to China? Are we not told that the hikmah, the wisdom, is the lost treasure of a believer, so find it wherever you find it? What is the problem? These are genuine questions which need to be answered on the basis of our understanding of the Quran. That is why the major reason is for conducting this class is these asuli, these principles, these first principles which are in our tradition, to understand them in a way that give us a firm grounding for understanding not only this issue but every issue in the Quran connected with science or our contemporary understanding. So the question again, to go one by one, what is wrong in taking Big Bang as a cosmological, even if it's a theoretical model? What are the issues connected with it? Two aspects. Number one, those who would insist, no, this is in the Quran, and those who say, okay, let's not worry about whether it's in the Quran or not. So these are two separate aspects of the related to the Big Bang. Those who would insist, no, this is in the Quran, they have to be talked, we have to talk with them, raising the issues of finding this theoretical model in the Quran, explaining these ayahs on the basis of this theoretical model, which may change tomorrow or in 10 years or 50 years, and then we say, oh sorry, this ayah doesn't mean this. How many times are we going to revise our understanding of the Quran? Number two, their issue would be, well, we said the Quran is an everlasting source of knowledge. You are closing the doors of ijtihad by saying we cannot put new knowledge into the Quran. You are actually a close-minded person. You are just living in the medieval ages. The answer, you said we are closing the doors of ijtihad. Is that what you said? Yes, you are closing the doors of ijtihad. What does ijtihad mean? What is a door to ijtihad? How can someone close it? Who has the authority to control it? Number one, ijtihad in our tradition is a very specific technical term dealing with the issues of fiqh, legal issues, not of aqidah. These are two distinct areas. One deals with issues of fiqh and the other deals with issues of aqidah. There is no ijtihad in the issues of aqidah. There is only ijtihad in the issues of legal rulings. Because new situations only arise in the practical matters of legality. Now you are flying in the plane, aeroplanes did not exist. How are you going to pray while you are flying and the prayer time comes? This is a legal issue pertaining to the fiqh of salah. Distinguish this from the issues of fiqh, whether or not prayer is an obligation on the believers. We are flying in the plane. Whether the prayer is an obligation for the believers or not, believers who are flying, that is an issue of Aqidah. How to pray is an issue of fiqh. Two separate things. If someone says, I want to open the gate of ijtihad and say, now prayer is not obligatory on the believers flying, that's not valid. We don't have ijtihad in matters of Aqidah. Now the second issue that comes up, how do you close the doors of ijtihad? They say, well, that's why we are down, because we close the gates of ijtihad. No one ever closed the gates. No one has the keys to the gates of ijtihad. There is no pope in our deen. There is no one closing the doors and opening the doors. These issues are continuously coming. They have always been continuously coming. And scholars have continuously provided answers according to their capacities throughout the centuries. Next, the same people who say there is no problem in finding the Big Bang and saying that our understanding, this is a very important issue, our understanding of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to continually be updated according to the knowledge acquired, the knowledge that previous generations did not have. The question then is, it has two aspects. Number one, what do we mean that we are continuously gaining more knowledge in relation to the Qur'an? Number two, what does it mean to say that we need to continuously update? We need to continuously update our understanding of the Qur'an. These are two distinct issues. The first one, the knowledge that we are acquiring continuously is of an order other than the order of knowledge required for understanding the Qur'an. If understanding of the Qur'an was dependent on humanity continuously gaining knowledge, the worst, na'uzubillah, the worst understanders of the Qur'an, people who would have the false understanding of the most deficient understanding of the Qur'an would be, na'uzubillah, when the Qur'an was being revealed. This is a huge thing to say, of course. What does it mean that our understanding of the Qur'an is improving and becoming better and better as we acquire knowledge? What are we saying? That the blessed Prophet ﷺ, upon whose heart the Qur'an was revealed, didn't know what we know? Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq didn't know what we know? All of companions didn't know what we know because we have gained more knowledge. This is a huge understanding that we need to have, that the order, knowledge has orders, and inshallah we are going to go into the into the Mabadi Ashra, into the 10 foundational principles that are applied to every branch of knowledge. And one of those principles is in the hierarchy of knowledge, what is the rank of this particular branch of knowledge? In the Western civilization, that connectivity, that one single house was exploded at way back. It just shattered. So every single branch of knowledge then gained its own autonomy. It became an ontological entity in itself, disconnected from other branches of knowledge. That produced specialization of knowledge in each branch, so that even and within each specialization, sub-specialization, so that the ENT specialist knows nothing about the heart, and the cardiologist doesn't know anything about the ear. Even within the same branch. In our tradition, every branch of knowledge was connected to a central vertical axis, like a tree that has branches. huge tree that has branches, but each branch is connected to the trunk. So the knowledge has an hierarchy. The knowledge of the Qur'an is the supreme branch of knowledge, is the highest branch of knowledge. As Imam Ghazali said, that all the principles of all branches of knowledge are in the Qur'an. And he found 8 of the 10 of those in just Surah Al-Fatiha. These are not hyperboles. These are not exaggerations. These people are not just making empty talk. Like, they are not just saying things for just without substance. So those who would like to understand the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to this understanding, they need to correct their understanding of knowledge itself. So enough of this category. Let's go to the people who say, okay, we don't worry about whether or not it's in the Quran. What is the problem? The question is very genuine. We don't need to discard it. How would we decide it? What would we do to discuss this matter with someone who is a firm believer, prays, everything is known, good, it's good for that person, but says, this is just a scientific, working scientific hypothesis or theory or model. Everyone has accepted it. It's the currency of the time. We don't worry whether or not it's in the Quran. What is the problem? A very foundational, fundamental way of dealing with that would be, is this a stand-alone concept model, or is it a part of a package? Can we have the Big Bang but nothing else that comes with it? Is it a package? And if it's a package, then what else is in the package? Please disclose that, so we can decide whether or not we want this or not. And we have to deal with the package, if it's a package. What else is in the package? What does this model produce? It produces a cosmos that is, number one, limited to the observable cosmos only. Number two, even within that small limitation, it produces a cosmos that has its own, what they call, natural laws. If we accept this model, we begin with the expansion of this fused matter into galaxies and very high temperatures. Over time, then these planets and stars, they start to cool off. At a certain time, one of the planets called Earth then becomes sufficiently cold. It has this perfect temperature now, and there are these isolated small atoms floating around in this vast cosmos. And on this planet, they start to coagulate. They have this ability to self-arrange themselves into cells. And one of those cells has a nucleus. And that nucleus gives this particular cell the ability to self-regenerate. And those self-regenerating cells start to combine with each other. And when they combine with each other, they become more and more complex. And as they combine and combine and combine, they give rise to new structures. And eventually we have the beginning of what we call the evolution. At some point in time, these inanimate amino acids and others, they come into this perfect form where we have life in them. And the plants start to grow. And then the rest of the story that you know. This is part of the package. Would this package give us a cosmos, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, تسبح له السماوات السبع والأرض ومن فيهن وإن من شيء إلا يسبح بحمده لكن لا تفقهون تسبيحهم إنه كان حليما غفورا. Surah Al-Isra. Can we get a cosmos? Can we even just get the samawat and the earth from this package, in which the mountains are going to hymn the hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when one of his servants begins his tasbih? Is there any possibility of natural laws giving us something like that? What does this do to our understanding of time? This package comes with an understanding of time. This is built into this package, not only space but time. And the time, they say, there is a definite time when this Big Bang happened, and then we start to count that time, and we want 13.7 billion years to have this happened. And then they say that this package says that your belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the samawat and the earth in sittati ayyam, in 6 days, it doesn't work. So you need to reinterpret the text according to what we are saying now, that this has taken 13.7 billion years and you are saying 7 days, and don't tell us that your day in Arabic is not a fixed 24-hour day. These explanations we have given those explanations that, oh, actually this day doesn't mean that. Actually, the Qur'an also talks about your day being 1,000 days according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even then, 1,000 days times 6 only gives us 6,000 days. It doesn't give us 13.7 billion years. So what are we going to do with this kind of package? Because this package comes with numerous, they are not hidden, but they are not on the stage either. When we say, brother, there is no problem in believing in this because it's just a scientific theory, we need to understand that whatever else is coming. This whole issue dealing with the 6 days is a very important issue in itself. And inshallah we can have the next class on it. Because as I said, these explanations, that number one, Yawm in these ayahs, obviously it doesn't mean 24-hour period because the sun wasn't there. But even the explanations of these 6 days being periods of time, the two other scales mentioned in the Quran, the 50 years, Kana Miqdaru Khamseen Alfa Sana, and 1 day according to your reckoning is 1,000 years according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's reckoning. These are all issues connected with the concept of time. That requires a class on its own. Inshallah, we can do that next week. We'll stop here. I'm sorry for all the difficulties. We'll figure out, inshallah. Any questions from the online or here? Inshallah, we can. No, the internet is fine. We try to use this projector, and somehow the laptop continuously froze. So there is some conflict in the projectors. That's the only new thing that we are doing today. So we are just using the phone. It should be okay. Internet is fine. If there are no questions, inshallah, I'm sorry once more. And I'll put the notes on the class website. Please go through them. And if you have any questions, just send those questions via emails, inshallah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشرح صدورنا ونور قلوبنا. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. رب اغفر وارحم أنت خير الراحمين. Ya Allah, open our hearts to the book. Allahumma اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت. Ya Allah, guide us and give us tawfiq and ability to continue this journey. Allahumma iftah lana wa birahmatik. Ya Allah, open the doors of your mercy for us. Give shifa to all of us, to our hearts and to our bodies. And grant us the ability to finish this journey on this earth in a state that is pleasing to you. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.